East Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert questioned the acting Secret Service director about the White House security breach in a White House judiciary hearing today. He mentioned the breakdown in White House leadership. As one of his main concerns, he asked the director if he would be in favor of eliminating the fence around the White House. Take a look.
From Texas, from East Texas, Mr. Gohmert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director, for being here. We've had different hearings. Secretary of Homeland Security has been here a number of times. There seemed to be in the past a feeling of invulnerability of the White House, that the fences, there was bound to be more security there than you see. So it rattles folks when somebody can jump over the fence and get there. And somebody else was said, I think there's 2 rows of fences. Isn't there just 1 row of fence around the White House?
Sir, as a result of September 19th, on Pennsylvania Avenue on the sidewalk there, we've now put bike rack in addition to the permanent fence, realizing that people can still get over the bike rack, but what it does is it gives us a little more time to react. So there is bike rack in front of the original fence.
Well, how tall is the fence there? And I'm not asking anything classified. You can go out there and measure it. But
7 feet, 6 inches, I believe, sir.
7 feet, 6 inches. Is there any thought about making it higher? Has that been discussed?
Yes, sir. It's being discussed, and we've been working very closely with the partners in the region. We have to work with the National Park Service, the National Capital Region Planning Commission, and the Fine Arts Commission. And we have already started those discussions to work together to see if there's something that is amenable to all the groups so that we keep the historic nature of the White House, but also increase the security measures at the House.
Well, I know this was before your time as acting director, but if you remember late 2009, there were the Christmas party crashers, the sleighs that got in there that were not on the list. And there was a hearing up here on the Hill about it, and it turned out that it really wasn't so much the Secret Service's fault, that there was a social secretary of the White House who is always supposed to be there, and if somebody's not on the list, gives the ultimate yes or no, and that she had told someone she didn't care about having to be the one to say no, and it left the Secret Service in a terrible bind. But what was obvious to those of us who would go over to the White House regularly was that it was all about appearances after the Christmas party crashers, that even though it really wasn't so much the Secret Service's fault as a breakdown of the White House leadership, the Secret Service, who wore plainclothes suits, were made to start wearing uniforms so that it looked like there was a lot more security there. And in fact, we went from just having the one checkpoint you had to go through there at the southeast corner to adding another there near the monument, and then adding another down on 15th Street. So it pretty clearly it was all about appearance to make it look like, gee, it was the Secret Service's fault, and we've tripled those up, added a bunch of people there, when really it wasn't necessary that any more need to be done other than just make sure White House gave proper direction. So my concern has been that there's been too much about appearances and not as much about actual protection. Has there been any thought to just eliminating the fence around the White House? Did Secretary Napolitano ever talk about that, maybe having a virtual fence or electronic fence? Has that been discussed at all?
Sir, I'm not aware of any discussions in that regard.
Would you be in favor of removing the fence around the White House and having a virtual or electronic fence around it?
Sir, my knee-jerk reaction to that would be no, sir, partly because of the number of tourists that come on Pennsylvania Avenue and come right up to that area and take pictures and whatnot. So,
well, the Secretary has said a number of times, Secretary Napolitano, fence was worthless. You put a 10-foot fence up, somebody's going to build a 12-foot ladder. So I would think that if the administration is going to be consistent It's now time to remove the fence from around the White House, because if it isn't good enough for our border, it shouldn't be good enough for the White House. So I would ask you to consider that consistency, and also consider the fact that maybe there really is some real virtue in having a fence that slows people down. And with that, I yield back.